Emily Abbott takes event number 2 and day number 1 of week 3 of the CrossFit Games Regionals is officially in the books. Hi, everybody. Welcome back inside the CrossFit Games Update Show studios. I'm Sean Woodland with Tommy Marquez and Pat Sherwood, going to get you all caught up on everything that went on in the 3 regionals on day number 1. And we're going to start overseas in the Meridian regional. That wrapped up earlier today. And on the women's side, Annie Thorisdottir looking like she is back. She's off to a great start. She's tied with 2 other ladies with 180 points, but because Annie Thorisdottir has an event win, she gets the tie break. Only 29 points to separate 5th from 10th, and then Bjork Odensdottir, another Games vet, she sits in 9th place. She's 27 points out, but 4 Games veterans sitting in that top 5, and Annie Thorisdottir is off to one of her best starts at the regionals in a long time.
And really, it's just vintage Annie Thorisdottir, kind of what we're used to seeing from her. Couple of top 5 finishes, and what I'm really impressed with is her event win in Randy. That's really been a workout that's just kind of grip it and rip it. And Andy's almost been Rich Froning-esque in the past, where she just kind of holds that steady pace throughout, and by the end, when the dust settles, she's in first. But it's great to see her kind of finish this sprint at the end and also tie together a 5th place in Tommy V, and I think she's off to the start we expected.
And good to see her being pushed, right? I mean, Sarah Sigmund's daughter, anyone named daughter is doing great, but I want to see these two continue that, back-to-back fight on day 2. But Annie, proven she's a veteran so far, the tiebreak goes to her at the end of day 1.
On the men's side, Jona Koski had about the best individual performance on day 1 that we have seen at the regionals so far. Back-to-back wins, 200 points, and he has a 30-point lead over Björgvin Karl Gudmundsson. 9 points separate 5th from 10th, and Lucas Hoberg sits in 8th place, but he is only 5 points back. And Jona Koski came on the scene last year when he won the regionals at 19 years old, and clearly this kid is going to be around for a long time.
19 years old, has probably never been sore in his entire life, but feels fantastic right now. What most impressed me about him is not only that he's Mikko Sale's protege, what a great title to have, but it was Tommy V. This workout, he said, was, a little uncomfortable, or just not the one that he had a warm, fuzzy feeling about, and it's a first place, so that's a nice day 1.
Yeah, and it's nice to see a familiar name atop the Europe leaderboard, especially on the men's side. The last couple of years with Mikko kind of stepping aside with some injuries, and even Lacey Kovacs doing that as well. It's kind of been a rotating door of new athletes, so to be able to see kind of a figurehead there is great, especially for Europe.
And finally, to the team competition, where like Jona Koski, CrossFit YAS swept the first 2 events. Back-to-back wins for them, have them sitting atop the leaderboard. 5 through 10 separated by just 30 points. And then 5 and 6, look how close that is, just 2 points separating CrossFit Reykjavik Virtuosity and CrossFit Fabriken. They have 158 points trying to get in with 5 events remaining, so still plenty to be decided here. But we didn't know a whole lot about CrossFit YAS coming in. We knew that they were from the Africa region. We found a whole lot about them today.
And we're going to find out more about them if they continue doing what day 1 was. So a first and a first. If you're not on our radar going into this, that's how you get on it after the end of day 1. 15:01 on event number 1, 18:52 on the second event out of Abu Dhabi in the United Arab Emirates. And all I can think about is over there in the Meridian Regional, all those countries coming together, just how many different languages are being spoken out there on the floor.
And they weren't on our radar because all 6 of their athletes that are competing this weekend were in a different region or competing as individuals. Last year, they kind of all came together in Abu Dhabi, formed that team. They had 3 women in the top 10. And I think it's really cool that they're representing the Arabian Peninsula, because CrossFit has really exploded there in the last couple of years, and it's cool to see a representative step to the forefront, especially in that area.
Yeah. Let's head back to North America, the Central Regional in Minneapolis, Minnesota. The team competition. Look at Team Rollins, Quad City CrossFit, back-to-back wins for them as well, and they lead a little team by the name of CrossFit Mayhem Freedom by 30 points. 417 sits in 2nd place. Plenty of teams, though, are still very much in contention with 5 events to go. In CrossFit Mayhem, they finished 3rd and 5th. And Rich Froning is on their team. I'm sure everyone knows that by now. And this was a very Rich Froning type day 1.
I love that he put the word freedom into their team. Isn't that so for Froning? Yeah, so yes, CrossFit Mayhem Freedom off to a fantastic day 1. And true, in classic Froning fashion, if you follow Rich's work at the games, he's usually, not a first place kind of guy until day 3, but it's just consistent performance event after event that just keeps him not only in the running, but suddenly just creeps him up the leaderboard the entire time. And with a third and a fifth, finishing overall in third place, it's exactly what Old Freedom's doing.
And Team Rollins, Quad Cities CrossFit, got overlooked just because Froning is now in the team competition. Who wouldn't be? But Team Rollins comes in with quite a background and looks like they're very capable of winning this thing.
Yeah, they've actually been to the games twice, and they're returning 3 of the 6 members from those 2 games appearances. Team Rollins, you might recognize that. They're named after the WWE heavyweight champ, Seth Rollins, and they kind of picked up after him because really in event 1, they gave everyone kind of the kick to the gut, and event 2 just delivered them the old Stone Cold Stunner.
I like it.
Walk away with 2 event wins on day number 1. You really can't ask for a better start, especially with how deep that competition is with teams like Timberwolf and Mayhem Freedom. I mean, that built them a nice lead to go into the rest of the weekend.
Day 1 of the men's competition, and a former Games champion finds himself on top of the leaderboard after 2 events, and that is Graham Holmberg, who is tied in points with Jacob Hepner. But Holmberg actually beat Hepner by 0.2 seconds in Tommy V, and that's the reason why Graham Holmberg is in first place. 31 points separating 5th from 10th, so once again, plenty still needs to be decided in the next 5 events on Saturday and Sunday. But this looks like, it's only 2 events, I get that, and only day 1, but it does look like this is the best Graham Holmberg that we've seen in a while.
Yeah, and if it is the best version of him, it should be scary to everyone else, because really, he's got a resume that's second to none when it comes to CrossFit. He won the CrossFit Games in 2010. He's the only man to beat Rich Froning in individual competition at the Games. He followed that up with a 4th in 2011 and then a 10th in 2012, one of only a handful of men to have 3 straight top 10 finishes at the Games. He missed out last year, but he only really missed out by a point. And in a region where there's so many talented athletes, a 4th place is nothing to shake your hat at.
Yeah, on the women's side of things, a familiar name sits atop the leaderboard there as well. No surprise here as Julie Fouché goes out and finishes with a 1st and a 5th. She wins Tommy V for that first place. Stacy Tovar, 29 points back. 7 points, though, separating 2nd from 5th, so a lot can change there, and only 12 points separate 5th from 10th. Jennifer Duncan spoke with your day 1 leader.
Julie is as calm as ever, as I've ever seen her interviewing her. We were talking about you grinding through these workouts. Was this any different mentally for you?
Not really. It's just another workout, a lot of rope climbs, so I try to just take a couple deep breaths in between each one and just keep a steady pace the whole workout.
Always so steady. Never look like you're faltering on it. This is also your last year that you said you're going to compete because you do want to work on your career, getting into being a doctor and really working with that. So is this all or nothing, all in, all Julie this whole weekend?
Absolutely. I know this is going to be my last regional, so I'm just trying to have as much fun as I can and leave it all out here.
So she would expect you to see you in the top 5, of course, then.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Jennifer. Clearly having fun is Julie Fouché, but when you watch her in these events, I mean, it's just stone cold focus, and the expression never really changes.
Well, she's going to be a surgeon, right? I mean, a steady hand, a sharp mind. You can't have a jittery surgeon. She's been to the Games 4 times. She's showing why. In those 4 appearances, it's 2 fifths, a 3rd, and a 2nd. So shocking, at the end of one day of competition, she racks up a 5th and a 1st, putting her in first place overall. And looking forward to day 2. I mean, she's such an accomplished athlete. You've seen her perform everything under the sun. I don't really see anything shaking her out of that spot.
I think she's a lock for maybe event victory in that chipper to start off day number 1. We've seen how well she does in some of the long events at regionals and at Games.
Let's head out west now for the West Regional, the last regional to close out action on day 1. And the team competition, that was this morning. CrossFit Fort Vancouver has credit for 2 victories. They have 200 points. CrossFit Marysville 20 points back, as is Verdant Green. Both those teams have a 2nd and a 4th place finish. Still super close, though. It's only day 1, 27 points separating 5th from 10th. But man, what an impressive start for Fort Vancouver.
Really, and we shouldn't be that surprised because they've been to the CrossFit Games every single year in the Affiliate Cup competition since qualification started in 2009. That's 6 appearances at the CrossFit Games. They won the Affiliate Cup title in 2010. They finished 2nd in 2011, 4th in 2013. They have one of the longest resumes of any affiliate out there, and a lot of talk was made about Marysville, but really they came in and just kind of dropped the hammer on day number 1. 2 first-place finishes, and they're well on their way.
Yeah, but despite that, Marysville still with a great performance, a 2nd and a 4th for them.
And there's a couple events left. There's a little bit of this competition remaining, and Marysville can easily continue to climb up the leaderboard. After a great day one, though, they're sitting in second place, and their resume speaks for itself. They made it to the games last year and didn't just do all right. They were on the podium, third place. Last year at the Northwest Regionals, first. They ran away with it. So much so they had no finishes outside of the top 3. All 6 members have returned. And we're talking those 6 members are comprised of 3 former Games individual athletes and 3 regional competitors. So put that in your pipe and smoke it.
Perhaps later. We'll give that a shot. Don't want to do that on TV. Let's go over to the men's competition in the West. And look who's on top of the leaderboard here. Lucas Parker, the 5-time winner of the Yukon Cornelius Lookalike contest by 10 points over Brent Fikowski. Mitch Barnard, who had a great event, 1 is up there. Cole Sager in 4th. He set an event record on Tommy V. More on that in a second. Then Tyson Takasaki rounding at the top 5, but Joe Scally and Apollo Lewis well within striking distance. 5 events to go in the West as well. But Lucas Parker, we kind of wondered how he was going to do, especially with a sprint event like Randy, because he's so particular with a lot of stuff. Looking pretty solid with 2 second-place finishes.
You know what? I mean, I'm happy for him, but I'm genuinely confused. When we were chatting about this beforehand, I thought Lucas was going to qualify. I thought he'd take one of the 5 spots, but winning at the end of day 1, I didn't personally think that. He really impressed me on Randy because I thought he's just such a systematic mover that, you need a bit more of a frantic pace to do well, but he took second on that. Followed it right up in Tommy V with another second. You can't ask for more consistent performance than that. And in first place, just 10 points ahead of Fikowski at the end of day 1. This guy's a 4-times Games athlete, and looking forward to day 2. He can snatch, he can walk on his hands. He took 5th on the Nasty Chipper last year. You might not get Lucas out of there.
Yeah, we wanted to see what Cole Sager was going to be like in year 2 now as a competitor, and he certainly did not disappoint.
No, especially not in event number 2, Randy, where he set the event record. But it kind of started off a little shaky in Randy, where he had an 11th place finish, and really that was a workout with how big and how strong he is. We expected him just to tear through that barbell. Put him in 11th place heading into the second event. Then he steps up to the bar in Tommy V, rips the thrusters, rips the rope climbs, sets an event record by more than 7 seconds. And since this is the last week and they were the last region to go, he's the official record holder for that workout. And I think tomorrow looks really good for him because last year in the Northwest Regional, he won the 50s chipper in his region. He won the snatch, and he's in 4th place right now. So I really expect him to maybe climb a few spots and contend for Lucas for that 1st place spot.
You just watched Emily Abbott win event 2 for the women, and as a result, she has back-to-back wins, and now she's on top of the leaderboard with 200 points. Behind her is Alex Parker, and then Carlene Matthews just a point behind her. 28 points separate 5th from 10th. Alice Parker was 9th in Randy, 3rd in Tommy V, and she spoke with Mike Arsenault.
Day 1 of the West Regional is in the books. I'm here with Alex Parker. 2nd place as we head toward the weekend. You have to be happy about your position at this point.
Definitely. I actually surprised myself a lot. The snatch event, I just stuck to my plan, steady sets of 25, and then the rope climb one, I just pushed as hard as I could and without blowing up, I guess, my forearms.
Now, you said you surpassed your time in training on Tommy V by over a minute, and you created competition-like conditions for yourself. So when you practiced Tommy V, you did Randy before that. Was that so you could get an idea of just how difficult the Tommy V would be on your forearms?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I did some mock regionals just to make sure I knew what I was getting into and what the actual workout was going to feel like when I did it at regionals.
So we have 3 events on tap for tomorrow. What does your rest recuperation look like this evening?
I will make sure I have my favorite hamburger and sweet potato fries for dinner and just relax, maybe do some rolling and stuff. Try out the True Form runner again.
It is going to be an exciting weekend here at the Tacoma Dome.
Thanks, Mike. You cannot argue with someone who is going to finish up a day of training with a burger and some sweet potato fries.
Instant fan.
Yeah.
Like
Woman
absolute
after my
fan.
own heart.
Yes, go
Yeah,
for the
I'm hungry.
burger. You can never go wrong with the burger and the sweet potato fries. Emily Abbott had as good a day 1 as you possibly can. 2 event wins, 200 points, has a nice cushion now as she heads into the weekend.
This is happening a little bit around the world with men, women, and teams, just domination. So we see it again from Abbott. A 1st place on Randy, followed by a 1st place on Tommy V, and currently running away with the West out there. She went to the games last year. She took 35th place. This year she was 1st in the Open in Canada West, 48th worldwide. And again, looking forward to day 2. It's not the exact same as last year's day 2 at regionals, but there's a lot of similarities. There's a snatch. She snatched 160. There's a handstand walk. She took a tie for 11th, so hopefully she bumps that up a bit. But on that disgusting chipper last year, and we have one this year, she was first. So 2 firsts today, and the events seem to play well for her tomorrow.
Reagan Huckabee is the closest games veteran to the top 5. She currently sits in 8th place. What are her chances of being able to climb back up now over the final 2 days?
Pretty good, but she didn't necessarily finish on a high note. She was 4th in Randy to start the day off, but then she goes into Tommy V and takes 19th. It drops her all the way to 8th, but she's only 16 points out, so she's definitely well within striking distance with 3 events tomorrow. It lines up pretty well for her. She was 7th in the snatch last year at regionals. She was actually 6th in the 50s chipper. The one thing I'm kind of worried about is how she's going to do in the handstand walk. Last year, she only walked 75 feet on her hands, and this year with the new format, you have to walk 250 or you're getting time capped. So that's really kind of the crux for her tomorrow on day number 2.
A lot of good stuff to watch on day number 2 around the world, and including the West Regional. Our coverage starts for the West Regional tomorrow at 9 a.m. Pacific time. Remember, the Meridian Regional gets going tonight at midnight, so you only have to go about 7 hours without any CrossFit to watch. We'll have that for you live as well. For Pat and Tommy, I'm Sean Woodland. We'll see you back for day 2.